Playing on a Budget is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, the best Magic the Gathering singles and sealed retailer on the internet, GatheringMagic.com, your #1 source for Magic the Gathering news and content, and RogueDeckBuilder.com, my personal channel filled with innovative and entertaining Magic the Gathering rogue brews. Hi there, it's Kevin with GatheringMagic.com here with another episode of Playing on a Budget. This is actually going to be a Playing on a Budget that was kind of challenged by a fan. He told me to try to build around dragon-style twins, and then a generator servant. So he wanted to see a generator servant dragon-style twins playing on a budget deck. Now I've tested it out with generator servant dragon-style twins, and it's really cool when you can actually go generator servant dragon-style twins, swing in for 6, and even possibly if it's like a turn later, you can throw like a Titan Strength and swing in for actually almost lethal. It gets up there to a 7 damage, so 14 point swing with the Dragon-style twin and Titan Strength. But it seemed like more of a glass cannon strategy with the generator servant. Unfortunately, red doesn't have many other 5-drops that already don't have haste, like the Stormbreath Dragon, or really want haste. And Dragon-style twin definitely is the card that does want haste to get in there for that additional damage, but this card really shines on the turn after it comes into play and you have all that mana available, and then can just load it up with a bunch of spells. So I'm going to run the combo as challenged, but only 2 generator servants. They were just too clunky in this deck, and if I want to run cards like Dragon-style twins, I really need to support it. So a lot of you may say this looks a lot like a deck that I played a few weeks ago on Playing on a Budget. It is, but it's not as heavy into it. I really wanted to revisit the Darksteel Citadel, Scuttling Doom Engine, Shrapnel Blast. But in this deck, it's just going to have 4 Darksteel Citadels, 1 Scuttling Doom Engine, 2 Hammer of Purphoroses as the actual target for the Shrapnel Blast. So Shrapnel Blast statistically should have a target when we draw it. I am running a Tormenting Voice as well if I just need to ditch the Shrapnel Blast, because if I didn't get one of my artifacts. And we do go through our deck with Dragon Mantle kind of cantrips itself, so it's almost like running a 56 card deck, as Dragon Mantle is going to draw yourself a card. Another route that I thought of going was Devotion, with Dragon Mantle and Hammerhand being hooked up to either a Swiftspear or a Satyr Hoplite. Your Devotion is getting pretty high, and maybe that's just the new route that Red needs to look at if they want to go the Devotion route. I know that Purphoros sees a little bit of play in like red-white tokens, but Fanatic of Mogis, which used to be such a clutch card in Last Standard, hasn't seen any play in this new Khans of Tarkir Theros Standard. So I think that I might have to check out a mono-red Devotion list using Fanatic of Mogis and possibly like Eidolon of Rhetoric. The problem is you want Eidolon of Rhetoric, and that's anything but budget. I think that the card Eidolon of Great Revels, and I think that card is way above budget. I'll have to check the price, but I think that it's quite expensive, like around the $8-9 mark. So I think we could make it work. Another card that I'm sure would want in the place of Dragon-style twin, well, maybe not if you're going the Hammerhand Dragon Mantle route, but is Stormbreath Dragon, which again is not a budget card. So I will be messing around with a Playing on a Budget mono-red Devotion list, but for right now, this is just gonna be more of a let's get a feel of the deck and see what works, see what doesn't work, and see if we can actually get the Prophetic Flamespeaker and the Dragon-style twins to work as challenged, as suggested by one of the fans. So let's just go over the price list here, brought to you by our sponsors, Cool Stuff Inc. So here we have Darksteel Citadels are about $1 a piece. Dragon-style twins are bulk rare, and everyone knows how much I love Double Strike. Double Strike Prowess, that was just like a little kid's dream when that card came out. Unfortunately, again, the mana cost is a bit steep at 5. But we do have, the Prophetic Flamespeaker that's at 3, so they're going to have to use the removal on the Prophetic Flamespeaker. Speaking of Prophetic Flamespeaker, this is going for $3 a piece. Cool Stuff only has 3 in stock, so you need to add $4 to this, or $3 to this budget list. But we're still around 40, so this is half of our budget that we've spent. There is Hammer of Purphoros at 49 cents, Harnessed by Force at 49 cents. The good old Swiftspear that is in so much jeopardy of being banned in Modern at $3 a piece. It is just wrecking Modern right now. It's the most played card in Modern, and I think it's followed by, Lightning Bolt's the most played card, and then Monastery Swiftspear is the second most played card in Modern right now, and it is incredibly good in Standard as well. So Anyway, then we have Satyr Firedancer. I'll get, this is just kind of a pet card. I've been playing this at my local game store, a red green. I did it on Playing on a Budget a few weeks back, but red green aggro and Satyr Firedancer and Destructive Revelry is just really fun when they're playing any sort of enchantments. So you can actually throw down a Satyr Firedancer, and it's so good to soak the flames as well. And then you can burn out your opponent and redirect the damage to a creature. So if Satyr Firedancer is just kind of a pet card, that's why I've got it in the sideboard. I've got some Scuttling Doom Engines. 2 of them are in the sideboard, 1 in the main board, and I'll show you exactly where those come in. And then 2 of Searing Bloods, and 1 more Shrapnel Blast in the sideboard, 1 in the main board, and then a Twinflame, just a good card. It's not bad to actually copy a dragon twin with Twinflame. And then if you cast like another card after that, with the prowess on both of them is just brutal. So I'm trying out just a 1 of Twinflame. So let's go back to the deck list here. So I'm running no main board removal except a Shrapnel Blast. And the reasoning why is most of the decks in Standard, you don't really necessarily want to be going the removal route. You want to be progressing your own board state, because a lot of the decks are whip decks or like Abzan mid-range decks, or even Mardu tokens, which or either Jeskai tokens or Mardu tokens, which removal is pretty bad against unless they're built with the old school Mantis Rider, Goblin Rattlemaster, Seeker of the Way route. Then we do want removal, and that's why removal is in the sideboard, because that is the one deck in Standard that you really want to have the burn to take out those Goblin Rattlemasters and Seekers and Mantis Riders. So it's in the sideboard. And so if we do go up against a Jeskai mid-range decks or Jeskai burn, whatever they're calling it these days, we will bring in the Searing Bloods, the Peak Eruptions, the Lightning Strikes, and the Satyr Firedancers. But Lightning Strikes are such a dead card against Abzan and Sultai midrange. There's basically no targets. You can't hit their Courser Crew fix. You have to use Stoke the Flames instead of Lightning Strike. You can't hit their Sylvan Caryatids. You can't hit like the Siege Rhinos, are of course going to be way bigger. Their Doomwake Giant. If you hit a Hornet Queen, it doesn't do anything because they've got the 4 Hornets that it produced. And I guess the one thing you can hit is there in Sultai, you can't hit Sidisi, but unfortunately Sidisi's already got value, and you're playing from behind at that point. So you need to be focusing with this deck on your own progression of your own board, putting out a 1-drop for early aggression that hopefully eats up removal, and then finishing off with Dragon-style Twins or Prophetic Flamespeaker. So again, this is going to be just a sideboard package to bring in against the Jeskai decks, and then what we'd bring out would be probably Prophetic Flamespeakers and Dragon-style Twins, and just run kind of a tempo deck, kind of like the old Boss Sly deck where you throw in the early drops followed by enough pumps, and then the Lightning Strikes and Searing Bloods and whatnot can actually be used as kind of tempo damage as well, and just tempo them out. So that is the theory. So the second column here is I'm bringing against decks that cannot deal with Scuttling Doom Engine. These are decks that run no exile effects or are more mid-range decks. Abzan, not so much, but Sultai definitely you want to bring in these Scuttling Doom Engines and Shrapnel Blast, because you need to go over the top of them, and these are the cards that are going to get you there, especially this combo. Shrapnel Blast and Scuttling Doom Engine is 11 damage, and if you have actually swung with Scuttling Doom Engine, that's 17 damage. Harnessed by Force, again, will come in against the decks that put out big stuff. If we're going against any deck that runs like a Stormbreath Dragon, we can use Harnessed by Force. It's just a 1-of in here, and it's a card that I definitely am testing out. So again, it's something we need to fill for what the sideboard. We could run more Scouring Sands if we're worried about Jeskai or Mardu tokens. We can run more Peak Eruptions for that very reason. Peak Eruption just seems really good right now because a lot of the red decks are 3-color red decks, and you can actually really, really mess them up, especially if they've changed or rocked something. Then you can Peak Eruption it, get your thing back, and actually still do 3 damage. Again, it's perfect to bring in against the Jeskai aggro, Jeskai midrange, whatever they're calling it, because it's that tempo damage. It's to destroy their land, set them back, and deal 3 damage. And hopefully you set them back away from either removal or something they could put out, and then just ping, ping, ping down with the Monastery Swiftspear or the Satyr Hoplite. So again, I don't know if Satyr Hoplite's quite the way to go. Again, I'm going to mess around with the Devotion. If I do go a Devotion-based list, this slot's going to be taken most likely by the Eidolon of Great Revel, and And I think that a devotion deck could actually be quite feasible in this. But there's other cards you could think about using. There's Akron Crusader, but the problem with like Akron Crusader and Hordeling Outburst route is you really want to go into white. I was going to do a red-white tokens, but I've kind of beat that drum a little too much with playing on a budget by doing too many token decks. A lot of decks that revolve around Launch the Fleet and Akron Crusader and whatnot, and I think you guys might have been a little bit sick of this route. So this route, again, is a lot like the big red route that I did a few weeks back, but I think it's different enough to really justify running this, and especially since someone did request this. Again, I'm open to suggestions about playing on a budget. Sometimes I get a little uncreative, and it's I need a little bit of a jolt, and so I appreciate when fans suggest, like, hey, he apparently saw this at his own FNM or something where it was just wrecking. So anyway, I thought I'd try it out. So let's get to some games here. Oh, by the way, I do have one Nykthos Shrine of Nyx. I think that we do generate enough devotion, and this is kind of a tester card to see if I do have like enough to actually generate devotion. So I'm thinking like Prophetic Flamespeaker with a Satyr Hoplite with a Dragon Mantle on it is going to actually net up mana, and maybe Nykthos Shrine of Nyx is actually worth it. And if you have like 2 Prophetic Flamespeakers out, you could actually, or a Hammer of Purphoros and a Prophetic Flamespeaker out, you can probably generate some pretty decent mana. Anyway, we'll get on some games here. This has been Kevin with GatheringMagic.com. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching Playing on a Budget. If you haven't already, please subscribe to Gathering Magic and check out our Playing on a Budget playlist, which contains every episode. Thanks again, and hope to see you soon.